Recap where we are, what we're doing. Um, so reminder is just project 2 will be out soon. There's a task for you in regarding that project. Project 1 was due last week. If you're late, which happens, there's a penalty. And grading is not immediate. It will take probably at least 1-2 weeks before the TA starts grading. So don't have like crazy expectations where like you submit and you get your grade straight away. And also we have project 2. So what is project 2? It's a kind of an incremental build on project 1. So let me go over the features here. So we have, you can basically paint as you can see here. The differences are a couple. So you have like these new features. So you have these new features where you can kind of control the size of all the painted objects at once. So you don't just change the slider and then like the size is in effect. It's basically going over all the existing spheres and changes their size. You can also change non-color properties like material, like the glow here, and also the opacity, like is it transparent or not. Other features that are interesting are this clock, which will start going over today, which kind of can reset the light in the scene, and like kind of you can probably move things here. I'll show you that later. Let's see what else is interesting. So we still have this mouse position, that kind of indicator that we went over last week. We still also have this kind of color, but notice that let me just reset everything here. So notice that this color dial has actually a number, like from 0 to 100. So that's like a new thing. I don't think we'll do that today, but we'll do it next week. It also has, it's also a bit random. So it's not kind of, even if you bring it up all the way to 100, it still gives you reds that are like more blackish than red. And that's some sort of randomness that's happening inside here. And the same thing you can say for the other sliders. Like if it's green, like it still also kind of varies between no green and full-on green. So these are the main features. So we're going to go over a couple of these features today. After we do that, before that, sorry. So these features are something that you need to have in a chart. So when you are planning your project 2, keep something like this in mind. So I already published a project 2 design task. So this is for you to submit by next week. It's not project 2 itself, it's just you committing to a certain idea. The best thing to do is to do some sort of incremental improvement over your project 1. You can start fresh if you want to for project 2, but it's not recommended to do that. So the main thing here is either you do something kind of paint style app, or you do something completely different, and then you need to answer these questions. So this is just for me and the TA to go over and just to confirm that everyone is on track, because sometimes people have funny ideas, I'll build a game or something, which is not really related to what we're doing in this class. Let me first of all work on one of those features we just saw here. Like you see this kind of color feature. So if you're painting, like say red, it's not letting me paint now. So if I'm painting red, let me clear that. If I'm painting this red, it's not just red, it's kind of shades of red that vary from red to blackish, which is basically no color. So let's work on that feature. It's kind of the easiest thing to do. So if you can please open your computers, laptops, devices, and open Unity on where we were at last time. I guess this is here. So I'm gonna add this to the existing kind of script. So, and this is something, this script I actually put on the website, so you can just look it up right now if you want to. So what I'm gonna do first of all is I'm gonna do, so let's see where we are at right now with the painting. So I actually am painting, and then if let's ignore that. If I make it like red, then it's really just red. It doesn't have like any shade or randomness. So I'm gonna first of all add that randomness, kind of similar to what we just saw in that Project 2 demo. So let's stop this. So that will be kind of, not this script, the script, yep. So that will be kind of easy to do. If you remember, everything of importance is in this update function. And here we're already generating these shapes with, the create primitive and all of that. So, and we also have the color here already. We're already creating the color. But right now the color is just red, blue, and green based on the values here of the slider. So the values of the slider, just to remind you, they kind of vary from 0 to 1. Okay? So they're just from 0 to 1. So what I would like to do is I would like to add randomness here. And that's basically using this random command. So let's do that. No, I don't want that. Okay. So I'm just going to multiply each of these colors by a random variable. So I want this random variable to not be full on from 0 to 1, because that kind of doesn't really result in, it kind of, let me show you what it does. So let's save this. And let's, so let me just turn on blue. Actually, this is probably a little bit small. Let me make this a bit larger. Okay. So actually, it gives me like a okay result. I'm not too unhappy with it, but what I would like to do just for this demonstration is show you another option. I don't want it to be full on from 0 to 1. I want it kind of to keep the blue there based on the input. So I'll just change it to be something like 0.1, 0.9. So what this command does, it just generates random numbers from 0.1 to 0.9 and then it multiplies them by blue. Okay? And then I'm just gonna copy the same command over here and save it. And let's play this again. Yeah, so it kind of does similar sorts of stuff to what we have in this demo app, which is good. Okay. Any questions on the ending randomness to the color values? That was kind of an easy start. No? We're good? Okay. Now I want to show you something kind of difficult to understand, but it's necessary. So let's work on this transparency feature. So here in the demo, you can actually change how transparent or not the objects are using an opacity slider. Okay? So let's work on that feature. Okay. So first thing I need to do here. Okay, let me just check that everything is working fine. Yeah, okay, it's fine. So first thing I need to do is actually add a slider, right? Before even I'm adding any script or anything. So to do that, like I'm just going to be lazy and just copy the existing, one of the existing sliders. So let's kind of Control C or Command C if you have a Mac, and paste, and then I just drag it down. If it lets me, maybe it doesn't let me. Does it let me now? No? Ah, here. Okay, it lets me. Okay, so I just have another blue slider here. And let's change also the text here to be opacity. And so it's kind of boilerplate, but you know, lots of just silly kind of opacity, kind of silly copy pasting, but you know, it's necessary. And we already have the slider, right? And then we just need to have the slider. We don't have a function, so let's remove this. Okay, so now we have the slider, but it's kind of doesn't do anything. It's kind of mute. It's kind of disabled. So what I would like to do is actually write in the logic that connects this slider to the opacity or transparency feature. So okay, this is like an interesting thing to. So let's first of all, like just actually, let me just show you what is this. Okay, so we have this sphere right here. So this sphere is unrelated to, or it just there for like, you know, just show us that what is kind of that's everything is like, okay, it's not connected to our painting app in any way. So this sphere has, if you go into its color, you can see its color here. It's like a red material. So you can just kind of view the color over here. You don't have to go to the colors folder or anything. And if you look under the sphere, there's a thing called rendering mode, okay? So this is kind of important. So right now, rendering mode is opaque. If I want to have this sphere support transparency, I have to actually change this to transparent, okay? And then after I do that, I can fiddle with this alpha value over here in the color and actually make it less or more transparent, okay? So more transparent is when alpha is all the way to 0 or 100, or yeah, 0, and it's all kind of opaque, or less transparent when it's 100. So again, this is kind of important. So to do that, you need to go actually to some sort of primitive. You have the color here, you have rendering mode, and then by default it's opaque. I would change it to transparent. So the tricky thing is to do this by script. But this is really important for you to know. So because some things, you know, in Unity are not well designed, some things are still tricky. And by tricky, I mean not really kind of, there's no single command that does it for you. So let's first of all kind of understand how to change. So we're not changing the, so if you can see here, the color has, let's change this to RGB. So the color has like these free free values like red, green, and blue, right? And there's also an alpha value here. So now when we're doing the change in the transparency, we just need to change this alpha value, okay? So let's type in the code that does that for us. Using the existing kind of template, I'm just gonna type public void change transparency, okay? And it receives some sort of value from the slider. Now, I want to change if you look at the demo here, when you're changing the transparency or opacity, it changes this feature for all the painted objects. So this is kind of, if you think about it, it's very similar to destroy, because destroy kind of clears all the objects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my my destroy function, which is this guy over here. And if you can see it kind of iterates over all the child objects of this object. So what is this object? This object is basically, this is my Unity. So this object is where I'm holding the script, and where I'm holding the script is, at least in my case, called the painting manager. So when I'm painting, again, let's just show you, this really needs to sink in. As I'm painting, all the painted objects are gonna be created under this painting manager. So what I'm really doing is, when I'm doing this call, I'm just iterating over all the objects that are children of this painting manager. Okay? Any questions on that? This is really important. It's kind of hard to get it probably first time, but you should all try to understand. Okay, so let's actually copy this part. So I still want to iterate, and now I need to change the transparency somehow. Okay, so the way I'm going to do it is, let's first of all see how I create colors. So you can see here that this is how I kind of latch onto the color. So I'm just creating, it's like getting the color by using this command spawn, get component render, whatever. It's a kind of long incantation, but it works. Let me copy this here. And now I don't have spawn here, I have a child. Okay. And let's call this color current equals this guy. So just getting and grabbing the existing color. And now what I want to do is I want to actually change the transparency, right? Right now the current color doesn't have any alpha thing, but I'm going to show you how to do that. It's pretty easy. So let's do this. Child. Actually, it should be child game object. Child game object dot that. Why game object? Because this child is just the transform. This is just the transform. It's not the game object itself. And you can see this here also in the clean example. So the way to do that will be, okay, so child, again, copy all of this stuff, equals, and then here I'm going to do new color. Okay, and this is just kind of copying the old color, because I don't want to change the red, green, and blue values. I just want to change the transparency, RGB, and then value. Okay. So this is not going to work, but this is basically almost all the way there. So what am I doing again? I'm iterating over all the children, kind of all the game objects, and grabbing the color of the existing game object, sphere or whatever. Then after I grab the color, I just create a new color which has all the similar kind of colors as the current color, like the red, green, and blue values, but it has a new transparency value. So maybe I can be more specific here. Let's just call this alpha. Changes transparency value alpha. Okay, that should help you kind of get it. Now I'm not done yet. I actually have to connect this. I have 2 more steps to do. So I actually have to connect this to the slider. So my slider right now doesn't have any function. So let's connect it. So let's click on the slider, and then let's click on plus, and click on and like add the painting manager, like same as we did before, and here add change transparency. So I guarantee you this is not gonna work yet. There's like another step, but let's just try to see that we can run it and nothing breaks. So I'm running it. Okay. So you can see it doesn't work yet, but I'm gonna show you how to fix that. Any questions so far? So main things we did is we added the slider. We connected the slider to our script using this function. This function is kind of like similar to the destroy function. It iterates over all the children of the script or the game object associated with the script, and then modifies the alpha value. Okay. So let's show you the secret why it doesn't work yet. So okay. So again, what you need to do and remember, and I kind of started with this, is if you want to change the transparency of the object, I have my sphere here, right? So you actually have to change the rendering mode here. Let's open the color. You actually have to change the rendering mode to be transparent. So by default, it's opaque. So we didn't yet do that via script. So by default, because it's opaque, it will never ever be transparent, even though we're changing its alpha value. Okay? So the problem is to do these changes by script involves kind of using all these weird lines of code. But I'm showing this to you because it's part of the it's necessary part of how to do things. So sometimes you have a problem and there's no easy solution, but there is a solution. And the solution is just to copy paste this into your code, and then everything should be fine. So this is like what I did. I basically opened the Unity discussion forums, and I'm asking here, like, I'm not me personally, but someone else asked how to change the material rendering in runtime. Okay? And so this is like the answer that someone nice provided. So you actually have to copy this into my. This is the answer. So I have to copy this into my code, and I'm gonna share this in the website in a second. So to do that, I have to basically let's see. Maybe I'll copy it from here. I already tried it out before. So, okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm grabbing the material of the object, and just doing these lines that this kind of forum says I should do to change the transparency, change the rendering mode to be transparent. And first of all, before I actually am going to explain what it does, let me just save this and see if it works, because sometimes it doesn't work, and then that will be kind of sad. Let's go to this. So I'm painting, and it does this. Okay, it looks like it is working. So let me do this and change the opacity, and you can see it really does work. So what this code does, it does something very simple when you're like not in the game mode. It just does this. So if you go to the sphere, like this sphere that we have here, it just goes to the material of that object and change it to transparent. So it's something you can easily do with a mouse click. But for some reason, Unity requires all these lines of code to get it to be done by script. So what I want to do now is let me just post this on. So I want you basically to, I'm going to stop here, and I want to pass over each of you to see where you are at. Let me just add this specific not external, specific URL to the canvas so you can all grab it from there. Changing, so this will be this, and changing transparency, changing rendering mode to transparent. Okay. So okay, so you should all have access to this on week 8 in like in Canvas. So you can all grab the code from here. Okay. And I'm also going to put this on screen right now so you can try to follow me from there too. Any questions? So let me just kind of go over where you are all at, and then we can continue. Let me try to maybe put this both on screen. So let's put this here and this here, so you can all kind of follow. Okay, and this should be. Try to make it kind of convenient. Okay. Said no, like, okay. Okay, so let's work on another feature. So in this demo, let's go back and let's paint here. Okay, so let me just turn it down a little bit. Okay, so in this demo, you can paint, and then like you can actually change the size of the existing kind of painting by using this slider. So let's work on that feature for now. So basically, it's kind of the same story as before. You're basically grabbing all the paint objects and doing some sort of modification to all of them. So let's imitate this in our code. I guess I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. So I already have a size slider here, so I'm just going to piggyback on this slider. You should have it already in your code too, so it's nothing new. So actually, if you look at your code, change size, already exists here. It's already there. Right now, it just changes the size of, of the old new spheres that will be painted. I want to change that to be able to change the size of all the spheres. Actually, before I do that, let's see what it does. So if I click play, and I paint, and I change the size, then I'm just going to get bigger spheres, basically. So what it does right now, it just changes the size of the spheres that I'm going to paint, after I change, all the forthcoming spheres, basically. So let's actually make it do whatever happens here, where basically it changes the size of all the spheres. So it's the same story as before. I'm going to have to somehow iterate over all the spheres and do the size change. So I will just kind of, again, copy this code or something like that. So this code, this code already iterates over everything for me. And then I'm going to do child. What I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to change its, I want to change its size, right? So how do I change its size? So child, now transform. local scale. And now I want to show you that this was not going to work. Let me just do it like this. See? Okay, this is actually important. So local scale is not one number, it's actually a vector. It's a vector free, as you can see here in the hint. So if you want to change its size, you need to do something like this. Value. Okay. So that changes kind of both the x, y, and z at once. But this is not going to work. Let me show you why. So before I actually try this out, yeah. So let's just see where my size slider is. This is my size slider. It now runs from 0.1 to 10. So to make it a bit more, I don't know, friendly, let's change it to 5. Okay, and let's play. And this is not going to work, by the way, and I'll show you why. So I'm painting this, and if I click on, oh, actually, let me remove time destroy painting. If I change this a teeny bit, it's going to explode. It's going to explode very quickly, and that's it. And it only increases. You can see that kind of sphere, that blob increasing as I'm changing the size. So the problem is what's happening. The bug here is because, let's clear this out. If you look at the code, I'm just adding values to, I'm just adding more numbers to the existing size all the time. Okay? So basically, like you have a 5, like let's say your size is 5. So I'm adding 1, I'm adding 2, I'm adding so it's always increasing, so it's never decreasing. So there's a couple of ways to deal with it. The way I like to do it is having like a different kind of approach here. So let's think of this size. Where's the size? Okay, so I want to have this size kind of multiply whatever like the existing value is by that number, and that will change its size up to that size value. So my size values here are, where are they? They change from 0.1 to 5, okay? And the default is 1. So what I want to do is I want to do something like value, okay? So basically it's multiplying them by this value. So this is also not going to work. Let me show you why. And I'm modifying the size. It's gonna, okay, actually, let's avoid this time destroyed. Modifying the size, it's gonna explode even faster. So the problem here, it doesn't have any memory of whatever was its original size. So if I change the size slider to, like, say, my maximum value, which is 5, all I wanted to do is increase by 5, its original size. And if I change it all the way to 0.1, all I wanted to do is decrease, you know, to be 10% of its original size. So the way around this is, the easiest way I can think of, and there's other ways too, is to divide this by something. And I'm gonna just divide this by the previous scale parameter, and I'm gonna define this guy. Okay, so this value is just going to remember for me what was the scale, original scale of whatever I'm painting, and then it's going to change the size according to that original scale. So if you don't get it right now, it's okay. We will go over it later again. And this is a private, so it's not something I'm going to modify during the runtime. By the user. And I'm also setting it to be 1 always. I'm using the start function to set it to be 1. So let's see if this works now. So this and the size. So it doesn't work. Oh, it does work. Let's see. Yeah, so it does work. So see, like I can paint, and everything either increases or decreases. Actually, let me check this again because I was not too sure it did whatever it was supposed to do. So, oh, I forgot something. Yeah. So I need to actually set, let's do value. Okay, so basically after I change the slider, I need to change it to be, to set it to be, that scale to be the value of this, of the slider. So let's see if this works. Okay, and let me check this. So it does, okay, now it works well. Okay, and if I'm painting something new, it also works. Okay. Okay, any questions? Okay, so the secret to get this working is, let's stop this for a second. You have to have this, some sort of memory, what was the original value of the slider, and that's called this the previous scale the slider, that's called this prev scale. Prev scale is, you're basically setting it to the value of the slider every time you update the slider. And then you're multiplying the size of each object by whatever the current value is, divided by the previous scale. So like say if the previous scale was 1, and now you have like, you set like the scale to be 5, so all the objects will be multiplied by 5. And then you remember that in previous scale. Now if you set the previous scale, now if you set the size to be 2.5, that basically means like you have to decrease all the size by half. And then you have to remember it again. So it's kind of like an iterative process of remembering and changing. And this is just the private float that I set to 1 in the beginning. This has to be the value. It has to be the same value as the slider's initial value. Okay, any questions? So let me quickly do a pass and then we can start working on the clock. So the code that you want to look at is this one over here. On the clock. So the clock is this guy over here. Okay. And so this I think is already on Canvas. Let me check. Creating, yes, it's last week. It's like a link called creating a clock. So you all have access to this. So we're gonna create, like, let me just start on this. I'm not gonna finish it today, but I'm just gonna start. So this is kind of a very nice tutorial that goes through like very easy steps of how to create this clock. Like I'm just gonna skip a couple of stages. Okay, so let's first of all create the face of the clock. Let me maybe go there. Okay. So it says here in the guide that you need to create a cylinder. And then you can scale the cylinder so it looks like this. So let's do that. So file, so right click here, 3D object cylinder. Okay, so my cylinder is tiny, but I'm gonna kind of zoom in to get it to be more kind of more kind of closer to us. Let's see. So let's change this to be okay. So my cylinder, as you can see now, is kind of like long and skinny. I'm just gonna bring it as close as possible to where I am right now. It's long and skinny. Let me navigate to be kind of closer to it. Okay. Good. So the first thing I need to do is I need to rotate it. Let's see. Let me figure out this probably is the right way. Okay, so I rotated it. So now it's still skinny and long, but at least it's rotated the right way. Now I need to make it less skinny. So the way to do it is, let's see what they recommend here. So it's about, 20 times smaller on one dimension. So that will be this guy. Okay. So now at least it's kind of the same proportions as what they have. And let's see what else do they say here. Okay, so you have this. So actually they say let's call this a clock. Clock. And let's kind of focus a bit more on this clock. And they say here, right, they say phase and hours indicator. Okay, so for this, you actually need a black material. So let's create that black material. Okay, so I'll go to materials folder, create, material. Okay, and my material is a standard material, standard. And I'm just gonna click this, name this black, and actually choose a black color. Okay, and now what is happening in the guide, they're actually going over how to create the indicator, the hour indicators. So how are they doing that? Let's see. So they have the face of the clock, and they want to let's see what's they're using a box, I guess. Rotated hours indicator, and a cube. They're using a cube. Okay, so let's create a new cube. 3D object, cube. And that cube I'm gonna have as a child of this clock. I'm also gonna make it black. And then I'm also gonna make it actually be centered with the clock right now. Oh, that's a big cube. No, just make it smaller. Okay. Not that small. Okay, yeah, I can see it now. And let's move it like here. Okay. So right now, because it's centered with the clock, it's basically the clock is kind of all covering it. So it needs to be a bit forward, right? Like that. And let's change the dimensions to be a bit more useful. Here, okay. Something like that, I guess. So this is something that good for you to know. When you're doing this kind of editing, you have this 2D option here. So you can always kind of go to 2D mode if you want to. And then you can kind of probably more easily edit things. Okay, yeah. So in 2D mode, you just kind of see the projection in 2D of whatever you're working on. So let's change this to be kind of a line like this. And actually, let's move it to be going inside. Not there. How do I make it go inside? Not this way. Okay. Something like this, I guess. No, I think it's... I'm just playing to see whatever the best value is. And they have also made it a bit longer, so I think it should be this way. And skinnier. Something like this, I guess. That's what they had. Any questions so far? No. Okay. So you can see it's a bit manual and like kind of creating all of this, but it's necessary. There probably is like a better way to do this, but for this class, the powers that be kind of want to have you do it the manual way first. Okay, so now we have one handle. Now it's going to be very annoying to do this for each of the clock hours, right? So there should be a better way. So let's figure out what that better way is. Okay. So let me just call this hour handle. So the way to do it so that I'm recording this, I'm gonna show you, like, you create the first handle, okay? And then the idea to make it go faster, you just basically copy it here, then you copy this, and then you can rotate it to be like here, and then you copy these two guys, and then you can rotate it to be here, and then you copy these two guys, and then you can rotate it to be here. So basically, the process is basically creating these guys first, copying this and rotating them, and then you have like this, copying this, rotating it more, then you have this. So it's kind of like a 4-step thing, okay? So you don't have to actually create all the 12 handles. So let's create an empty. Let's just call it hours. And this will be basically the way I'm gonna rotate things around. Hours handle. So hours is basically should be I want it to be not rotated. Where's hours? Okay, so that's okay. So hours is like dead set in the center of the clock right now. And hours handle, I'm just gonna associate it with that hours thing. Okay, and I'm gonna also change, so where's hours handle? It kind of disappeared. Okay, it's here. And hours, let me kind of bring it a bit forward. Okay. So I'm gonna use this empty for all these kind of copy-paste operations. And this, let's just make it smaller scale-wise. And move this up. Okay. Okay, and let's create another hours handle and move this down. So it's kind of like this. This U doesn't really do it justice, but I just want you to get the gist of this thing. Okay. It's okay. It's kind of like okay. Let me show you now. If I kind of copy these to our handles, and then I'm gonna rotate them like this. No, this way. Actually, if I copy this, and let me see if I rotate it this way. Yeah, that's the effect I wanted to get. Okay, let me show you what I did. So I have this empty, okay? And this empty is kind of like has these two hour handles as its children. So I can just copy it, and now I have 4 of these hour handles. So this also has hour handles, and I can rotate it, and then I get like for free another 4 hours. So I can just repeat this process again and again. So I can copy this again, and then rotate it, and then get this, and copy this again, and then rotate it, and then get this. Okay? So that's, so how did I do it? I first of all created like an empty here. It's basically, doesn't have anything, but I just centered it with this coordinate here in the middle of the clock, in front of the clock. After that, I created these 2 hour handles, okay? Which are like up and down. Now the way to create all of this, I just have to copy this empty again, and then rotate it over here, okay? Then by rotating this empty, it just changes the positions of these, the rotation of this hour handles around that center. And then I did it again, and then all that I do is just change the rotation. And this is how I got this clock. Any questions on this? Okay, I think, okay, so there's more hour handles here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop here for this class. And next time we're gonna finish this up and kind of clean it up and make it like look nicer. Okay? I'm here if you have any questions on project 1 or need help with debugging something. So let's stop the recording.